A Duff Said is brought to you by Sheldon Street Pizza. Visit them online at sheldonstreetpizza.com or stop by Sheldon's during your next trip to Lake Orion. Sheldon Street Pizza, the official pizza of A Duff Said. And by Fourth Coast Cider Works. Quality craftsmanship, quality hard cider. You can check them out online at fourthcoastciderworks.com or come get a can or a howler at their Canterbury Village location. Not available for anyone under the age of 21. Please drink responsibly.
Yo, what's happening, everybody? This is Ryan Slocum, and you are listening. There ain't nobody better. This is the best local sports podcast in the biz, and that's A Duff Said.
That was Ryan Slocum. Now, Ryan just got back from a trip to Los Angeles to see WrestleMania 39. If you would like to hear about his experiences out there in LA at SoFi Stadium and get his takes on the show, just look up his YouTube podcast, The Job Guys. As for myself, my name is Duff Tyler, and that's A Duff Said. Thank you so much for hitting the play button on your favorite listening device of choice from wherever you listen to podcasts. My guest this week is Saginaw Valley State linebacker Trevor Nowaske. Trevor was one of the top defensive players last season for the Cardinals. He recently had a lot of eyes on him in a pro day workout with NFL scouts. Let's just say he made a solid impression on them. A number of draft columnists and experts are projecting that Trevor could hear his name called on draft day. The NFL draft takes place in just under 3 weeks in Kansas City. I caught up with Trevor recently, and we discussed how he put in the work to potentially go from the GLIAC to the NFL. And later on, I open up the vault to share my story on the last Saginaw Valley State Cardinal that made a name for himself in the NFL. My conversation with Trevor Nowaske starts now. You recently had a chance to showcase your talent in front of a bunch of NFL scouts. You had people from, I believe it was something like 15 teams that came out to look at you. What was it like to get that exposure?
Yeah, it was a great experience. Saginaw put on a wonderful pro day, like you said. There was about 15, 16 NFL scouts, as well as the other, I think there was a couple CFL scouts, and I believe the USFL was there, the Michigan Panthers. It was, nerve-wracking. I'm not going to lie to you. It was a little bit overwhelming. But, I had prepared for it for the past 2 months. I've been training for that exact moment. It's working on those specific drills, and it's one of the interesting things, you're so nervous, but at the same time, I felt very prepared. You know exactly what you're going to do. You're going to run the 40, you're going to do the drills, agility drills, you're going to bench, and you're going to do some jumps. And, it seems so simple, or I guess kind of the other way, it seems so complicated, but it's also very simple. So you go into that day knowing what you're going to do, but at the same time, like you said, it's a big moment. But I thought I did well and took advantage of the opportunity.
Do you believe that you made your best case for one of those teams to call out your name during the NFL draft?
Oh, absolutely. I got a lot of good positive feedback after the pro day. I talked with several NFL scouts, and over the weeks I've gotten to have a couple interviews and over the phone calls and a couple Zoom interviews. So I think absolutely. I think I did everything I could that day. I in terms of my numbers, I stack up there with some of the best this year in terms of my metrics. So absolutely, I think I made my mark.
One thing that you brought up just now is it wasn't just the NFL. The USFL showed a lot of interest in you, and so did the CFL. 20-some years ago, or maybe a little bit further than that, there wasn't those types of leagues for guys to draw on. It was almost like the NFL or bust. So yeah. You have plenty of options here. So it looks as though, and I'm pretty confident saying this, I don't think you're done playing football just yet.
Yeah, Yeah, like you said, it's very, like you said, it's not just NFL or bust. Someone asked me this the other day, am I open to playing in those leagues? Absolutely. Everyone's dream is to play in the NFL, and that's my goal as of right now. But we're going through this process right now, and if an opportunity comes, it does, and if not, we'll kind of look into those other options. So absolutely, I'm open to playing anywhere. Like you said, my journey isn't done yet.
When it comes to the NFL draft, there are so many guys that are eager and awaiting that moment. They are hoping to get that call when the draft takes place in 3 weeks. What would it mean to you to be one of those guys that gets that call?
Oh, it'd mean everything. I mean, this has been my childhood dream. I've played football my entire life, and I've always kind of dreamed of this moment. If you would have told me, a month ago, I'd be in this situation, I probably wouldn't have believed you. The stars are kind of aligning for me, and it's been a wonderful journey. I wouldn't trade it for anything, and I'm just looking forward to the next couple weeks. I can't wait for that draft day, even though it's going to be extremely nerve-wracking, and we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But yeah, I'm excited, and it would mean everything.
It's interesting to me that you would say if I'd have told you that a month ago, because when you played high school football, you were a 3-sport athlete at Salem High School in Canton, and when you were looking at college football teams to play for, most of the offers were coming from in the Division II level, a lot of schools in the GLIAC. So let's go back to then. At that point, when you're looking at Division II schools, a lot of GLIAC schools are calling you, expressing interest in you. Could you have imagined then, at the end of your time, that ultimately ended up being at Saginaw Valley State? Would you think that you would have been an NFL prospect?
Yeah, I think at the time I was a little too naive to even really think about that. I just love football, and I just wanted to continue to play the game of football. Like I said, it's always been a goal of mine to play at the next level. But I guess recently, now that I'm really kind of visualizing it and kind of seeing, the writing on the wall when it comes to testing and people reaching out and stuff, I don't know. I think back then, like you said, going kind of Division II, not heavily recruited, I think there was definitely doubts in my mind. I always had it in the back of my head. But at the time, yeah, I guess it would have been a little doubtful, but, there was always that hope.
How much of that was a motivating factor for you to succeed when you got to Saginaw Valley State, when you weren't getting like some of the bigger schools calling you, that you knew that this was where you were headed? How much of that impacted you to want to go out and just try to excel at the best level that you possibly could have?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I always played with a chip on my shoulder, like you said, not super heavily recruited. I knew what I was capable of, but obviously at the time, the colleges weren't seeing it. So, every time I went out there, I just wanted to make sure, I was proving to everyone, including myself, that I am the athlete I believe I am, and I'm the football player that I believe I am. And I feel like throughout my career, I showed that.
You certainly built yourself up for it, because I have seen some of the photos of you during that pro day, and I've gotten to know some of the things that you've done in the weight room. You are a guy that loves to spend time in the weight room, and you've come a long way from that kid you were at Salem High School in Canton. You are now 6'2", 237 pounds, and you can bench 400 pounds. How would you describe your approach every time that you enter the weight room?
Yeah, I mean, it really comes down to I just attack it in the weight room, like you said. I feel like these past couple of years I've really adopted a love for the weight room. It's one of my, even outside of football, it's one of my hobbies. A lot of these teams are asking me, what do you do outside of football? What are your hobbies? I always go back to weightlifting. I've just grown this passion for it, I've seen the growth I've made through football and other aspects of life, just being a more healthy person, nutrition-wise. I've taken that kind of to a new level this year as well through the combine training, and I've seen dramatic increases in my, like you said, with my numbers and whatnot. I would attribute it a lot to just my work ethic in the weight room, just my overall kind of work ethic overall. But yeah, I love the weight room. Like you said, my goal is always, I'm never taking, if we're going into the weight room, even if it's, one of a deload week or whatnot, I'm attacking it no matter what.
When you're in the weight room, are you a music guy, or do you just like the sound of silence and just focus on the task at hand?
We always had music on when we were weightlifting in college. But at the same time, it's not like I can't go. I know some people who they got to have their headphones if they're going to the gym. I can do either. I'm very focused on the task at hand. So either way, if there's music on, great. If not, no big deal.
Do you have a hype song that gets you ready for the weight room?
Oh, that's putting me on the spot.
That's what I'm good for.
No, absolutely. I get it. Man. If you give me like the Rocky theme song, that's always a good go-to. If I'm trying to like PR on something, just kind of get in the zone.
Oh man, I hope Philly gives you a tryout then, because when it gets to third down at the link, they start to pump that out, and if that's like your jam, the quarterback's in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, so you obviously love the weight room, and I've recently heard you give a lot of credit to your strength and conditioning coaches at Saginaw. What impact did they have on you?
Oh, Coach Winters and the strength staff, such a huge impact on me. Coming into high school, coming into college, like you said, I was 200 pounds, kind of scrawny, wasn't super built at the time, and he kind of just transformed me into, I guess, what I am now.
Yeah, you're like the Terminator now, dude.
Thank you. But yeah, I mean, seriously, not only when it came to lifting and whatnot, but just kind of overall, just football in general, and how to attack things. Give everything 110%. Don't take days off. You can attribute that in a lot of different aspects of life, not just the weight room. So I give a ton of credit to him, because not only has he helped me, in the strength aspect of football and weightlifting and whatnot, but he's also taught me very valuable lessons that I'll continue through my life.
Now, getting back to you being able to bench 400, when did you hit that mark, and is that just like where you're at right now, or are you hoping to surpass that?
So that was this summer when we were maxing out for summer conditioning. This summer at Saginaw. I have not maxed since, as for the 225 for your pro day, you're more focused on that kind of endurance, not your max. I'm not entirely sure. I would like to believe I could hit that right now. I'm definitely in the best shape of my life. Am I trying to surpass it? I'm not. I'm always trying to hit new marks, but at this point in my career, when it comes to maxing out and I'm just trying to get in the best shape I can football wise, and I, sometimes I don't know if maxing out is always the best method in terms of trying to get in the best shape.
Now, speaking of where you're at right now, you're at Saginaw Valley State, and there have been some guys at Saginaw Valley State that have gone on to have success in the NFL. A little later in this podcast, you'll hear about one of those individuals that did that. I'm, of course, speaking of Jeff Janis. How familiar are you with his story and what he was able to do coming out of Saginaw Valley State?
Yeah, they're always talking about him, Jeff Janis, Jeff Heath. Some of the guys that had some prolific careers at Saginaw and also in the pros. We early on when I was there, he was talked about a lot more just due to, when I was coming in, I think that was maybe his first or second year in the league. And like you said, they just talked about his work ethic, what it took for him to get to that next level and kind of how he was able to sustain, a significant amount of time in the NFL. So yeah, they're very proud of him over at Saginaw.
So what's the talk been about you now and the possibility that you could be the next guy taken in the NFL draft from SVSU? What's that conversation been like with your teammates and people around campus?
Yeah, so it was really nice to see my former teammates at the pro day. I was able to catch up with them along with my coaches. I've also been in contact with some of my coaches throughout these past couple weeks. They're excited for sure. Like you said, it's been a while since someone's been able to kind of have a stint in the league and been able to kind of plant their foot in it. So everyone's excited. I'm excited. Like I said, we're taking it a day at a time. And we'll see what comes next. But regardless, I'm training, I'm staying ready, and if my name gets called, that'll be very exciting for everyone involved.
You certainly have the resume for it. Let's talk a little bit about what you did this past season for the Cardinals. You almost had 100 tackles for the season. You finished just 2 shy of that. You had 4 interceptions. You broke up 7 passes. You were an absolute beast on the defense for Saginaw Valley State this past season. What do you attribute to those numbers?
Thank you. I appreciate that. I felt like our defense was very solid this year. We had some Our D line was probably the best it's been since I've been there. Our back defensive backs were unreal. We had Nick Whiteside, All-American. On the D line, we had Jacob Dorn, Harold Irby, guys like that who were just so dominant up front. And I really attribute a lot of that. They made my job a lot easier, along with our linebackers. We all work together collectively, and like I said, when everyone else is doing their job, it makes your job a lot easier as a linebacker. So I would attribute a lot of my success to those guys up front, and as well as the back seven.
And not only that, but you also were able to put together this great season going against some very stiff competition in the GLIAC this season. You went up against the team that ultimately won the Division II National Championship for a second straight year in Ferris State. You guys had a tough battle against Grand Valley State on the road. You beat nationally ranked Bowie State. You had some great wins this season. If it wasn't for that Davenport game that you guys finished just a few points shy of, you might have had a chance to add to those numbers in the playoffs. I mean, you guys had such a great year, but when you go against that kind of competition and are able to put together that kind of season, it's really hard not to notice it.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that. Like you said, man, if I had two games that I could go back on, it'd be the Ferris game and the Davenport game. It's kind of interesting. I've trained with a couple guys who went to both of those schools, and now that we're kind of out of it, and we're not mortal enemies, we can talk about those games and whatnot. You talk to some of the Ferris guys, and they're like, "Oh man, you had us," and it's frustrating because we knew we had some of those guys, but ultimately, like you said, we didn't get it done, and I would have loved to make the playoffs. Saginaw hasn't done that in a while, but it is what it is, and hopefully this year they can get it done.
Yeah, certainly they're in the right spot. You're leaving the program in great shape with Coach Brady still at the helm and some of the guys that are still going to be there. Speaking about the GLIAC, there's another individual that could also go in the draft in Jake Witt from Northern Michigan. That's a guy that you probably had to go up against a few times on their offensive line. That's a guy that goes like more than 6'5", 300 pounds. There are some big dudes in the GLIAC that you've had to battle with. How much better did you become as a player having to battle individuals like that?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I've been hearing a lot about him lately. I heard he had a great pro day. And he's been getting a lot of press coverage lately, so I wish the best for him. But yeah, it's like you said, the GLIAC is by far the best Division II conference in the country, and you're going up against guys who, like you said, year in and year out, could play professional football and are very good offensive linemen. Ferris State, Grand Valley, like you said, Northern, they all have huge offensive lines. And it was interesting. I went to the Tropical Bowl, which was kind of like a FBS Division I bowl, and everyone was kind of asking me what was the biggest difference or anything. And I mean, honestly, when you're going against guys like that, I didn't notice a huge difference in terms of play. Sometimes you get that Division II to Division I, and you're like, geez, these guys are so much faster. But I didn't really feel that way when you're playing in the GLIAC.
Just looking at some of the numbers that you put up in your pro day, you certainly turned a lot of heads. How did you approach that day when you were going into it, knowing that the spotlight is on you, and then you really took it and shined brightly that day?
I would like to say I kind of thrive under pressure. Like you said, the spotlight's kind of on you, but I kind of embrace that. And kind of going back to what I said earlier, it's when you really simplify it, when you go and train for these things, there's you train for 2 months on the steps you're going to take and the approach you're going to take when you're cutting and how you're going to take your first steps in the 40. And ultimately, at the end of the day, you just got to go out there and trust your training. And that's what I did. I had a great trainer, and he kind of put me in the right position to succeed. And like you said, I just kind of took it and ran with it. And, it worked out. I felt like my numbers were good, and now we're here.
Coming up, Trevor talks about who inspired him to play football, and you'll hear who the best euchre player is in his family.
You're listening to the best local sports podcast in Michigan, and that's a Duff said.
Okay, I want to take a second now to talk to the parents and adults listening to this podcast. If you are looking for a fun night out during the weekend here in Lake Orion, then stop by Fourth Coast Cider Works. Fourth Coast Cider Works is the place to be for hard cider in Oakland County. Located in the main entrance to Canterbury Village, Fourth Coast is quality craftsmanship, quality hard cider. Stop by Fourth Coast and try some of their many flavors on tap. You can also take some home in a can or a howler. Fourth Coast is open Thursday through Sunday. For a complete list of ciders and hours, go to fourthcoastciderworks.com. Fourth Coast Cider Works. The best hard cider is on the Fourth Coast. Not available for anyone under the age of 21. Please drink responsibly. If it's pizza night, Sheldon Street Pizza has got you covered. Sheldon's pizzas are always made fresh when you order them, and the readers of the Lake Orion Review have voted Sheldon's breadsticks as the best in Lake Orion. Stop by Sheldon Street Pizza at 3767 South Baldwin Road in Orion Township, or you can order online by visiting sheldonstreetpizza.com. Don't forget to try one of Sheldon's salads with his special blend of homemade salad dressings. He's also got some pretty tasty desserts as well. Sheldon Street Pizza. More than just pizza. It's the official pizza of a Duff set. Let's go back to when this all started for you. When did you first take up football, and what did you like about the sport?
Yeah, I've been playing football for my entire life. I believe third grade was my first year of tackle football. What I liked about it, honestly, at that point in time, I was a running back. I loved scoring touchdowns. And as I got older, I kind of adopted more of a defensive linebacker position. I love the physicality of it. It's one of the most interesting sports because you can, tackle another grown man and you're not getting arrested or you're not getting in trouble for it. So it's a very interesting sport in that sense. And, I love the physicality of it. I love, hitting people and making plays. And I love the adrenaline it gives you on those Saturdays and hopefully Sundays here in the near future.
Well, which did you enjoy more? Did you like putting on those tackles or did you like getting those interceptions?
Oh man, yeah, I had a couple of those this year. I would definitely say I think some of the best feelings are when it's like a fourth down. I had a couple fourth down stops this year, and those are the most kind of adrenaline filling. Obviously interceptions are great too. I had one this year against Northern. It kind of sealed the game, which I was pretty excited about. But yeah, I would have to say those kind of game sealing tackles.
Sounds like you put together a lot of great memories at Saginaw Valley State. In your 4 years there, what are some of your fondest?
I would say probably this year, like you said earlier, when we beat Bowie State. Last year, we were at their place and we didn't get the job done. And, we kind of had them circled on our schedule this year. And they came to our place and we kind of took it to them. So I'd probably say in terms of a game, that would probably be one of my favorite. And then overall, just kind of the relationships I built, going through summer workouts with the guys and whatnot. Those will be some of the best memories I have for the rest of my life.
When you got the offer to go to Saginaw Valley State, what ultimately made that your school of choice to play football?
Yeah. Like you said, I was kind of recruited by the GLIAC. Those are my main offers. And a lot of schools at the time were recruiting me for defensive end. Saginaw was one of the only ones that recruited me at linebacker, which I kind of liked that they believed in me playing there. And at the time, I had a great relationship with the coaching staff, and overall, I felt like it was the best fit for me. So I ended up choosing Saginaw, and I don't regret it at all. I made lifelong friendships, had an overall great experience, and yeah, I wouldn't change it for anything.
Those are a lot of memories that you're going to treasure forever. But who would you say has had the biggest impact on you in your journey in football?
I would probably say, in terms of overall, it'd have to be my father. He coached me all the way up until high school. He's always been involved. He kind of gave me the love of football. He played football his whole life. He had a short stint with the Cleveland Browns he went to training camp with them. So he kind of adopted that love and then kind of rubbed off on me at a young age, and I kind of ran with it. So I would definitely have to say my father.
Yeah, Jim is the one who encouraged me to give you this call because he's been there. He knows what this is like for you. How many times have you guys discussed that over the last few weeks about what it's like to know that you might be getting a call from the NFL?
Oh yeah, it's at this point it's every day. It's on everyone's mind, and we're always having long talks about it. And if I talk to a scout or I have an interview, we're sitting down and, well, what'd you say? Should we do this? Should we do that? Yeah, him and my mom are very supportive. They're very involved in this, and I wouldn't change it for anything. I have a great support system.
I've actually gotten the chance to get to meet both your mom and your dad, having talked about you so many times this last year and all the things that you did this past season at Saginaw Valley State. They follow me on social media. Your dad's emailed me several times to keep me up to date on what you've been doing. And that support system is probably the most important thing that you can have in your life.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, like you said, it gets a little stressful at times throughout this process. I put so much stress on myself because I do want myself to succeed, but kind of having them to fall back on it's been unreal. I ended up moving home after the season to come home and train, and it's been great being home for the first time in 4 years. Building back that relationship since you haven't seen your parents in so long on this consistent basis. But yeah, it's been great. They're a great support system, and they're helping me along the way. So it's been good.
I listened to an interview that you recently did in which you were talking about your parents, and I didn't know this until you did the interview. You're a big supporter of the Susan G. Komen Fund for Breast Cancer Awareness, and your mother, Renee, is a survivor. First off, how did that battle that she went through impact you personally?
Yeah. I was pretty young. I think I was in middle school when she was diagnosed. But yeah, it definitely hit us hard. Thank God she's still here with us and she's fine now. But yeah, like I said at that time, I'm a big supporter of really overall, cancer foundations and what they do, trying to find a cure. And like I said, kind of experience it firsthand. You kind of appreciate those kind of funds and what they're trying to do.
What inspirations did you draw through football, watching your mom go through that battle? Because at the end of the day, it's still just a game, and what your mom went through is real life. How did that inspire you to be successful?
Yeah, like you said, it kind of takes everything, and all of a sudden you're like, geez, man, I'm taking certain things for granted. Like you said, it's just a game, and even other aspects of life. When you go through something like that, you kind of realize things aren't as deep as they seem, and things aren't as serious as they seem until something like that happens. So, just take everything, take every day one step at a time, and, appreciate, these little things you're going through. Like I continue to say, it's been a stressful journey right now, but I wouldn't change it for the world. I'm enjoying it all, because you never know, something like that could, come and kind of struck your life again. And then, then all of a sudden you're wishing you were back at those times. So just appreciating everything you have and then not taking it for granted.
And how is your mom doing now?
Oh, she's great. Yeah, no, she's fine. It's been 12 years, no complications, and yeah, she's good.
That is awesome news. That's what we like to hear, and I'm glad that you're getting to spend this time with them right now. What have you guys been doing aside from training now that you're back home and getting to spend this time with them?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, there hasn't been a whole lot to report. Someone asked me this the other day, what have you been up to? I've been training, I've been eating well, I've been kind of resting, recovering, and I've been going to bed at like 9:30. What we do on the weekends, sometimes we'll watch a movie, we'll just hang out. We're not doing a whole lot. My mom recently just retired. She was a middle school teacher.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah. She's excited about it. This past year, yeah, she retired. So she's kind of been enjoying that. Gone on a couple trips. But yeah, now we're just getting a lot of quality time together. Just watching movies, things like that. Just pretty boring, mundane stuff.
I am curious about one thing, because you're from Canton, and in an interview I heard you recently do, you talked about how much you love French fries. Now, I would have thought that a guy from Canton would be all about the meatballs from the IKEA, being that that's one of the main attractions in Canton. How many times have the Nowaskes actually gone out and made a trip to the IKEA and made it all about getting those meatballs?
Honestly, I think it's probably been, I could count on my hands how many times we've gotten meatballs. There's been many trips to IKEA, especially when it first came out. It was an exciting time. Honestly, it's funny you say that. I've kind of forgotten about that. But yeah, no, I do love French fries, and it's been tough lately, kind of changing my diet around. Not being able to eat all the things I love, kind of trying to stay in shape and stay healthy. But yeah, no, there hasn't been too many times, but we have done a couple.
I think in 3 weeks after the draft's over, you should go to this place called Zach's that you're really fond of and get you a plate of those fries, man, because you will definitely have earned them.
Yeah, that's definitely on my mind. For sure. It'll be we're gonna have to celebrate somehow, and that might be the way.
The reason I bring up the IKEA is I'm originally from Indiana, and when my wife brought me to Michigan to meet her family back in 2008, that was one of the places that we had to go to was the IKEA, because I guess once you're in Canton and it's been part of the landscape for a while, it's just kind of there. It's just that thing. The tourists, they're the ones who come to see that, but for you guys, it's just another store. But when I went there at that time, I was like, wow, I've never seen anything like this. This is something new. And then I tried those meatballs, and I was like, I was hooked from there. I had to have those anytime that we've gone to the IKEA now. So like the furniture and all that other stuff, that's just secondary now. It's all about the meatballs.
You're going to make me go take a trip over there.
I know. Don't do it, man. You can't cheat. You can't do it yet. You got to hold off just a little bit.
Yep.
I also know you're a big card player. You're really big into euchre, like most Michiganders are. Yeah. Have you guys had a chance to sit down and play a few of those games?
Yeah. No, that was going to be my second. When you were talking about what we've been doing, yeah. If we have my sister still doesn't know how to play.
I don't either. I've never been good at that.
Which is surprising, like you said, being from Michigan, and we're always playing. If we have a fourth player, we're just kind of sitting around. We'll definitely be like, you guys want to play euchre? But yeah, I do enjoy playing cards. Euchre is definitely probably my favorite. Like you said, it's a little interesting because sometimes if you're not, in Michigan, or you're just not around people that know how to play, it's kind of a selective game. Some people know how to play and some don't.
Well, who wins the most of those games out of your family?
Whoever my mom's partnered with, she's pretty good. My dad gets a little distracted at times and won't play the right cards. I would like to say I'm pretty good, but overall my mom's probably the most consistent. Mom is definitely the card shark then. Yep. Now, are there some other games that you guys like to work into? We play Sequence, if you know what that is. That's more of
Never heard of it.
Yeah, it's a little hard to explain. There's like a big board, and you get like size. I don't even know what it'd be compared to. But that'd be another one we like to play, but mostly euchre. It's a big euchre family here, and if we ever get the chance to play, we're playing that. Well, I'm so glad that you're getting this opportunity to spend some time with the family, getting in that quality time. In addition to football, you've already got a degree in finance, and you're getting your master's in business administration. What got you interested in those subjects, and what would you like to do with those if you had to build a career outside of football? Yeah. I've always been interested. When I got my bachelor's in finance, I do think that there could be a career for me in finance, possibly, like you said, outside of football, maybe like a financial advisor, something along those lines. But I've always been interested in business, just in general. I've always kind of liked the money side of things and whatnot. At a young age, honestly, it was one of those things when you had to pick to go to college and they told you a major, I kind of just looked around and I was like, what am I interested in? And I've kind of been good with numbers all my life. I like, I'm kind of weirdo when it comes to like those spreadsheets and whatnot. I enjoy things like that. So I felt like finance was a good bachelor's degree, and now I'm getting my master's, which I'm excited about. That is awesome. So you have been able to really excel in both the classroom and the football field. You also, I heard, had to do a lot of night classes to work around your football schedule. Which was more stressful, having to prepare for like a Ferris State and a Grand Valley State, or having to do those night classes and cramming for tests in those classes? Oh, 100% the night classes. There'd be times where you'd have a 2-3 hour long night class and you're getting done at 9 p.m. and it's getting late and it's 8 o'clock and your mind's not working and you got to battle for another hour. Make sure you pay attention and write those notes down. It's no question. It's the night classes that were the most stressful.
I know you probably get asked this a lot, but I'm just going to jump in line with everybody else. If you could make that one last pitch to somebody on the draft board, what would you say to them to encourage them to call your name out on draft day?
Yeah, absolutely. I would just say when it comes down to it, no one's going to outwork me no matter what it is. You kind of hit on the nail earlier, like you just said. My work ethic is second to none no matter what I do. I'm a very competitive person. Like we just talked about with cards, if we're playing, I'm going all out. And that's the same with football. No matter, some teams have asked me, are you interested in playing fullback? And my response to them is, you could put me out there at quarterback. I don't care. Whatever gets me on the field. And I think that's what's going to separate me from the competition is that I'm willing to do whatever it takes. I know it sounds cliche, but I truly do believe and mean that. No matter the coming from a Division II, not having the same exposure as some of these Division I athletes, not getting the, if they compare us a lot of times, they're going to go, oh, well, he didn't play in a good conference and whatnot, and I'm going to continue to prove, those doubters and those non-believers wrong. Whether it's my testing, whether it's me doing, drills whenever I get the opportunity, I'm going to continue to, make my presence known. So.
I hope that you get that call here in a few weeks, and if not from the NFL, one of those other leagues that we talked about, because they'd be crazy not to hire somebody who has this kind of approach and this kind of determination to exceed. Trevor Nowaske, thank you so much for making the time this week here on A Duff Said. It's been a pleasure covering you at Saginaw Valley State. I hope this is just the beginning of a new chapter for you here in a few weeks.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Up next, how did a guy from the tiny town of Tawas that was taken near the end of the 2014 NFL Draft end up having a legendary day for the Green Bay Packers? I'll tell you. Looking for the best hard cider in Oakland County? Then stop by Fourth Coast Cider Works. Located in the main entrance to Canterbury Village, Fourth Coast has many flavors on tap, and some you can take home. Fourth Coast is open Thursday through Sunday. For a complete list of ciders and hours, go to fourthcoastciderworks.com. Fourth Coast Cider Works. Quality craftsmanship, quality hard cider. Not available to anybody under the age of 21. Please drink responsibly. If it's pizza night, Sheldon Street Pizza has got you covered. But if you're sticking to salad, be sure to cover it in one of Sheldon's signature dressings. Sheldon Street Pizza now has homemade ranch, Italian, and Greek salad dressings bottled up and ready for purchase. You can also order a freshly prepared salad from Sheldon because at Sheldon Street Pizza, it's more than just pizza. Order today by calling 248-791-7111, or you can visit them online at sheldonstreetpizza.com, or just stop by 3767 South Baldwin Road in Orion Township. If it's pizza time, it's time to go to Sheldon Street Pizza. And that's a Duff Said. Time now to open up the vault. We talked about it earlier in the show. The last Saginaw Valley State football player to be taken in the NFL Draft was wide receiver Jeff Janis. Janis grew up in Tawas City and was a legendary receiver not just for the Cardinals, but the GLIAC as well. Janis was selected by Green Bay in the 7th round of the 2014 NFL Draft. Janis played 4 seasons in the league with the Packers and Cleveland Browns. But one night in Arizona, Janis came off the bench and turned in a legendary playoff performance. Here was my story about it. It was the kind of night most NFL veterans can only dream of. When another receiver went down for Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers needed a new target. He found it in the 236th player taken in the 2014 NFL Draft.
Janis, touchdown.
His name, Jeff Janis. The Taos native and former standout at Saginaw Valley State came off the bench and caught a miracle for the Packers. Although Arizona won the playoff matchup, this was the breakout game that Janis had been waiting for.
Confidence-wise, it helps, and when somebody gets hurt, you just got to step in and be able to go out there and do your best, and that's pretty much all I was trying to do.
Saturday's game was just Jeff's introduction to the rest of the world, because to anybody who saw him play down here or up here, they'll tell you that catches like that from Jeff, they're merely routine.
If we're in doubt, we just throw it up to Jeff. That was kind of our play call. Every ball he got from John it was going to be a catch. Like, we had no doubt that he wasn't going to make the play.
That was a major selling point for Janis to go from Division II to catching passes from one of the NFL's elite quarterbacks.
I remember when all the scouts or anybody would come around, they would ask, how do you think he's going to handle the transition coming from, Division II school to playing at the highest level? And I would always tell him, if he gets the opportunity, I think he would have a chance to really explode and take off.
And that's exactly what he did against one of the best corners in the National Football League.
We had a couple buddies over watching the game, and when that happened, we jumped up and down. It was like a party.
It's a party that Janis hopes is just getting started.
Next year is definitely going to be interesting, and I can't wait for it to get here.
Janis certainly made the most of that opportunity that night. Again, best of luck to Trevor Nowaske as he tries to be the next Saginaw Valley State Cardinal in the NFL. If you would like to hear more episodes of this podcast, then head over to my website, aduffsaid.com. You can get news and information about this podcast on Facebook. Just look me up at sports journalist Duff Tyler. You can also follow me on Twitter. Just look for Duff Tyler. If you would like to subscribe to A Duff Said, then head over to Podbean, Apple Podcasts, the iHeartRadio app, or wherever you get your podcasts. Our announcer this week was Emmy Award-winning sportscaster Ryan Slocum. Be sure to check out his WrestleMania 39 review happening right now at his YouTube podcast, The Job Guys. All other announcements for A Duff Said are done by Steve Gale, the best high school sports public address announcer in the state of Michigan. And that's a wrap on this edition of A Duff Said. Today is the 1-year anniversary for Chris Ilitch declaring that the Detroit Tigers rebuild was over. Trust me, it isn't. And once again, my name is Duff Tyler, and I'm reminding you that if Duff said it, it must be true, because that's what a Duff said.